So we've been looking at your chart. Holy Scorpio. Are you aware?
Yeah. I know. I don't think people know.
Welcome to the Millennial Mystics. We have a phenomenal guest with us today, Tyler Gaca, aka Ghost Honey. Thank you for being here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. So, for those of you watching who are unfamiliar, which is probably no one, Tyler is a #1 best-selling author of Gentle Chaos, Poems, Tales, and Magic, and the Gentle Chaos Pocket Oracle Deck. He is also a storyteller, collector of teeth, beloved by Martha Stewart, a content creator, and who allows us a glimpse into his magical and whimsy life through his TikTok and other social media platforms. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, that was like the best introduction I've ever had. Thank you.
I was shocked when I saw your chart. That kind of, I was like, oh, I didn't expect that. We want to hear a little bit from you. Do you identify as a witch or a warlock? Because my goodness.
Yeah, I definitely do. I've always been a little witchy. I mean, ever since I was little and making like dirt potions in the backyard, and then that kind of like fascination with the earth never went away and just evolved as I grew older. And I kind of talk about it a lot in my book, Gentle Chaos, and how that love for magic shifted and grew and how I learned more. And
yeah, Stephanie and I looked at your chart, and archetypally, you wouldn't assume that you were a Capricorn rising, because Capricorn denotes like authority and old man and 9-to-5 job, boss bitch, right? But I think since you have Neptune and Uranus in your first house, and Neptune, then they're in a tight conjunction, and that conjunction talks about like breaking down forms and just moving outside of the norm of like what society tells you to do, this Capricorn is structure and tradition. And I was even saying to Stephanie, the moment I opened the chart, I was like, you come from a long lineage of warlock or witches, and you might have burned at the stake at many points in your life, in your like past lives.
wow.
And in this lifetime, you are meant to become this alchemist, this poet, this chaotic, beautiful mess that you are, and allow other people to be seen and heard through your creativity.
Wow. That's amazing. This is so wild. A couple of years ago, I got the chance to interview a psychic medium, and they told me, they're like, there's like a strong female presence like following you and watching you. And I was like, no, but that's so validating to hear. And they said it was like an ancestor of mine, a woman ancestor. And they described her as like, she has dark hair, really strong, sharp features, and she's covered in like giant bauble necklaces and big jewelry. And she may have not understood you in life, but she's cheering you on and like rooting for you in the afterlife now. And I've always felt like maybe it was like a witchy ancestor. That was kind of
100%. You have a strong mystical signatures in your chart beyond just all of your Scorpio planets as well. So we'll get into that. But first, we have some basic bitch questions for you.
Of course.
What is your favorite and least favorite zodiac sign?
I think my favorite maybe Sagittarius.
Excellent.
I feel like there's been strong Sagittarius women throughout my entire life. Like my mom, all of my best friends growing up were like Sagittarius women. Um, and they've been like a really good counterbalance to me because I can get kind of shy and introverted and reclusive. And they're like the strong fire adventure energy that like pulls me out and lifts me up. So they're probably my favorite sign.
Okay.
Least favorite. It's so hard because part of me is like maybe Aries just because they're like the opposite of me a lot of times, but also I've met a lot of Aries that I like absolutely love. I think it's like an opposites attract kind of thing where like it's either like amazing chemistry and it's beautiful, or it's like we just can't even meet in the middle.
That is like the literal definition of oppositions in astrology. It's either like a slam dunk or you're like, we were nemesis in past life. Like this, I feel.
Yeah.
So on brand. I think what's really interesting about your love for Sagittarius placements is that as a Capricorn rising, Sagittarius occupies your 12th house, which is your subconscious, your blind spots, and it's almost like they're able to have a window into your soul that they can see you in ways that others don't.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Okay. Who is your favorite Libra icon?
Oh, without a doubt, Marina Diamandis from Marina and the Diamonds.
Ooh.
She's a strong Libra icon, an idol to me. Just like the way she presents herself and her art, I just feel like such a strong visceral connection to her. Yeah, there she is.
So are we ready?
I'm so ready.
So you are Capricorn rising at 7 degrees, and the ruler of your ascendant is Saturn, and you have Saturn in Pisces, which means you are entering your Saturn return, which will have 3 exact hits, and the first one is this May, and you'll be around. Because Saturn will go retrograde, and so it will hit your natal Saturn 3 times. And so this is a huge year. And the next, I would say 3 years, you're going to transform how you communicate, how you show up. Stephanie and I were speculating you might be moving somewhere because Saturn in the third house is neighborhoods and social media, obviously, and modern astrology, but siblings and like the people you see on a day-to-day basis. So your Saturn is making contact with your 11th house placement in Scorpio. So again, huge transformation in how you communicate with a larger audience, with your community, with your groups. And it's going to be, I personally think, a really positive transit for you because it's in a sextile relationship to your ascendant. So it's not like a square, it's not like an opposition, it's in a nice 60-degree angle to you, exactly almost, because your ascendant's at 7 degrees, your Saturn's at 6 degrees. So I think for you personally, you have more perspective about what Saturn's trying to teach you, going to the limits of your fears and really allowing it to be a teacher. I think you'll have an easier time than most.
Oh, okay. That's reassuring to hear.
And I think you've obviously just released your first book, an oracle deck, and the third house is the house of writing and communication, and Saturn is a planet of authority. So becoming more empowered and having a more public presence with your self-expression is another way that this transit will manifest, because it comes out later this year, right? In October, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
On my birthday, October 3rd.
OMG. A Libra baby. We'll have to look at the chart for your book. That's the And I think also another theme. So, like Laura said, siblings, of course. And if you have siblings, they may be going through some transformational periods and maybe leaning on you for support in some way. But also boundaries. Having to set boundaries is going to be a major, major theme throughout your Saturn return, especially with extended family and close friends and family. Community and friendships, there's strong signatures in your chart of it's interesting because you have such a public chart with all of these planets that are at the tippy top. They want to be visible, they want to be seen. But look at Scorpio is like, give me my privacy. I've reached my max. I am done. I'm out of here. So there's that push and pull between being seen and being visible, but also honoring your need for rest and solitude. And Saturn is a planet of boundaries. So I think that will also be a continued topic as you move through your Saturn return.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to ask you is, do you have any dreams of writing screenplays or creating TV shows?
Yeah, absolutely. That's been one of my biggest focuses over the past 2 years.
Amazing. And that was just like something I felt intuitively because Saturn also rules your second house in Aquarius, and Pluto is going to move into there for 20 years, FYI. And so the ways in which you could transform the ways you make money too is through more media, through doing different things. I think just watching your content and reading the comment section, some people are like, I like this. I don't know why, but it makes me feel good, but I'm really confused. And I feel like that's your thing. Like, you draw people in with your energy because Scorpio placements are super magnetic. So you create content that's just different and maybe takes people to like a dream state, right? With your third house being by Pisces. So I think the more you lean into that and the more you really do tap into your creativity and show people different worlds, because Pisces also rules like different realms, I think you can really transform how you make your money.
Ooh,
yes.
Okay.
Now you also have a Virgo moon. Seeing it in the 9th house, that is the house of publishing, of spirituality, of mysticism, of higher learning and education, of foreign places and travel. So I would imagine that all of those topics, maybe back into your childhood, have just, run a current throughout your life and been really, really important to you. And Virgo moons have a tendency to overthink, and we can be really, really hard on ourselves.
I'm so good at that.
Yes. Your midheaven is something that also stuck out to me. So the midheaven in astrology is the tippy top of your chart. It represents your legacy, what you're bringing into the world, your reputation, your career, and yours is coming through in the sign of Libra, which means the planet that is associated with that is Venus, the creator, the artist, the storyteller. And your Venus is in Scorpio, and it's right next to Jupiter, which is also in Scorpio. So Venus and Jupiter are the cutest planets in the sky. They're the luckiest planets. They bring us the most blessings. And you have, since they're right next to each other, that's what we call a conjunction in astrology. So they're really, they're hanging out together. They influence one another very strongly. And they're in the 11th house, which is a house of good spirit and good fortune. And Jupiter rejoices in this house. So it is no surprise to see that you have had so much success. But I think that's coming through in the sign of Scorpio really represents that, like, there have been, I would imagine, major kind of like cycles that you've had to battle against, waves of grief and all sorts of difficulties that you've had to overcome to get to where you are today.
Yeah, for sure.
Along the same lines, you are going through a nodal reversal. So you have the North Node in Scorpio and the South Node in Taurus. The sky right now, it's the opposite. And these are points of destiny and fate. So Stephanie and I believe that we have free will to a certain extent, but when you have something like a nodal reversal, it's like spirit kind of takes over and is taking over the wheel. So I'm wondering if you started this spiral, like really viral in like the end of 2021.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think a content creator since like 2019, but I did it kind of in secret for the first year and a half until we got laid off from our job during the like height of the pandemic, and then I decided to try and pursue it full time. So I think, yeah, for 2020 I was really kind of fighting and pushing for it, and then 2021 is when things really kind of took off for me.
Yeah. So you're gonna still experience that growth, but I believe that from July to 2025, you're going to be more focused on your private life. You're going to want to nurture something and focus more on the private life because Aries rules your fourth house of home and ancestors. And so the North Node will be moving from your fifth to your fourth, and the South Node will be moving from the 11th to the 10th. So faded events around career and family and ancestry, beginnings and endings will happen in that sector, and those sectors of your home. And I was very curious about your ancestry, and it's interesting that you brought that up because the North Node will be in your house of ancestors. And I literally told Stephanie the moment I opened up your chart, your ancestors were talking to me. Like, you are meant to work with your indigenous spiritual practices, whatever they are. I don't know, like, where your ancestors come from, but they want you to get in touch with their cosmology or plants or whatever they used to use in witchcraft and incorporate that into your practice.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Amazing.
You're also having a couple BFD planetary events happening this year. So we have the Sun and Jupiter coming very, very close to your IC, which is the bottom of your chart. And like Laura said, this is our roots, our foundation, our ancestors. But anytime planets activate this part of the chart, it also activates the opposite, that MC, the tippy tippy top. This is going to take place pretty soon. April 11th, and then again May 7th and May 8th. So I'm very curious if there will be news, if you have a big project in the works beyond your book, or if there is, or maybe you'll be approached with some very exciting opportunity. But I would see that as a period of growth, expansion, and blessings coming your way as well.
I'm like, write that down. Write that down.
Write it down. And I think also in terms of just related to everything you have going on right now in your book and your oracle deck, there's some excitement coming up in June as well. So June 2nd and June 7th, Jupiter, the planet of luck, abundance, and growth, is going to be interacting with your Mercury, which is the planet of writing and communication. And then you are also going to be entering your Jupiter opposition. So this will take place later in the year around September 3rd. Jupiter is a planet of wisdom and growth, and the Jupiter opposition means that you were born with Jupiter in Scorpio. September 3rd, Jupiter will be in Taurus, exactly opposite your Jupiter in Scorpio. So this can be kind of like a pivot point, like figuring out, it could be a test of your faith. Like, okay, I've accomplished so many dreams. Look at what I have built so far. Where do I want to go next? What is my next seedling? And this is a big turning point, I would say, because this aspect only happens once every 12 years or so. So if you can think back 12 years ago, where were you? What were you like hoping, wishing, manifesting to bring into your world? This is an opportunity for just gratitude, reflection, and then also carving out the next steps in your path and where you want to go and what you want to bring into the world.
Yeah. Major year.
One thing I always think about is, I remember I shared my chart on Twitter once because somebody asked, and there was a comment that was like, "Oh my God, not a single fire sign. Are you okay, babe?" And that like really stuck with me. They're like, "Ooh, so much water." And I was like, "Oh, is that bad?"
No.
So I was like, "No, I don't think it's bad, but yeah, that's
Let's
something
not.
that's like I've thought
So,
about a lot."
okay, so what I will say is that you have your part of fortune in the sign of Sagittarius. So that's in your 12th house. It's marked by this little X
Mm,
right here. And the part of fortune is almost like a secondary rising sign or ascendant. So it's really
mm,
interesting that you mentioned Sag and having that instant rapport. Anytime, usually, whatever our rising sign is or our part of fortune, we can feel an instant connection with those zodiac signs. But you also embody a lot of that Sagittarius energy. Um, and your part of fortune, which represents kind of the fortune that comes into your life and the gifts that unfold in it's a really involved in ancient timing techniques and used for prediction and ancient astrology, but it is in the 12th house and it can show some of your gifts and where your blessings are. And the 12th house is such a mystical house. I mean, you have ghost in your handle, ghost honey. We need to hear some of your ghost stories. I feel like
Yeah.
you have to have them. I know you
Ooh,
do.
absolutely. There's so many. I mean, my very first like introduction to the paranormal world was when I was 16, and I talk about this a lot in the book. I was at an art summer camp in the mountains in Virginia, and I had this like instant immediate connection with this girl, and we became like best friends immediately. And I don't even remember how it happened, but we were like, "Ooh, we should make a Ouija board," which is like something I would not recommend doing now, especially if you're like 16 years old and at art camp. And I remember we made one out of paper, and it was like every single day we would sit outside, like nestled between the mountains, and like I don't know if we were just talking to each other through the Ouija board or talking to ghosts, but it like kind of ignited this huge fascination and love with the paranormal inside me. And then yeah, ever since then, going on ghost hunts, things like that. Um, Also, my mom, growing up, used to make us go on like historical home tours a
Mhm.
lot, which I kind of loathed as a child. And there was this thing that would happen every once in a while where I would enter a certain room and I would feel all of the energy leave my body and my face would turn green. And I would feel like I was going to be like violently ill or pass out. And I remember like the tour guides being like, "Is he okay?" And my mom was like, "He's fine. He just wants attention." And I was like, "I feel very sick." And then as soon as we would step outside, I would immediately feel better. Like I'd never been sick at all. And so
Mhm.
that was kind of like one of the first times where I felt maybe I'm kind of sensitive to the paranormal as well,
Ab-
or at least energy.
Absolutely. I think as a Virgo moon, so I experience the same thing and have my entire life. Like I go in a room and I'll get dizzy and I'm like, oh my God, someone's here. Surprise. Coming through in that earth sign, the Virgo, you can interact with the supernatural and your intuition in a very physical, visceral way. So
Mm,
noticing those changes in your body, it is definitely on brand and makes sense.
wow.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about what Uranus is up to in your chart because you have some exciting transits coming up. Now, here's your birth chart in the center, and on the outside is where all the planets are in the sky right now. Uranus is the disruptor. So it breaks up, it brings surprises, breakthroughs, sudden events, upheaval, change, but also excitement. And it's going to be opposite your Jupiter Venus conjunction. So that is, I don't know, it's giving me, obviously, you go viral every day, but this is like big, big. This feels like a very big moment. And yeah, I would just say there's something
Mhm.
exciting, very much so coming related to your career because it's going to interact with your Venus, which rules your career, in your fifth house of creativity. So on brand for a book, sure, but It kind of even feels bigger than that. This is
No, that's why I was feeling. That's why I was feeling like a TV producer or somebody like that reaching out to Tyler, like finding your content and then offering you um, a TV deal or something.
yeah, yeah. So you'll have to keep us posted, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's
I don't want to say too much, but that's like very spooky accurate.
I'm a
Just like,
psychic.
yeah.
me too.
I've definitely been having those conversations, and yeah.
Exciting! First video I saw of yours, you were talking about teeth, and I was like, "Oh my god, Saturn rules teeth."
Yes. Do you have any other questions about your chart?
Well, I guess one of the big ones is, could you tell me a little bit more maybe about my Scorpio and Venus?
Yes.
Because
Oh,
that scares people, I think, when I tell them. And I'd like to know why.
we have to ask Tyler about the hidden enemies thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We're curious.
Mm-hmm.
You have a couple signatures in your chart that show a lot of friends, like we were talking about earlier, but also like you may have dealt with a lot of hidden enemies or had to learn like, oh, they're not really rooting me on, or they're, jealousy, I would say, competition.
Right.
Then those are major themes that come through with your Mars in Cancer at 29 degrees, which is the final degree, right before it's about to change signs. So when a planet is at 29 degrees, it's like really ramped up. It can be exhausted, and it can be like full force, here we go. So it kind of wanes and waxes and wanes between both of those. But you have your Mars in the house of connections and relationships with other people. And Mars is a planet of severing and of war. And so it just kind of, we were curious because we saw a couple signatures that stood out of like, okay, he's probably had to really set boundaries and had some like, heartbreaking wake up calls around who you thought were your friends or.
Yeah, there's been a couple of instances in my life where, because I feel like I'm naturally such like a gentle, easygoing person, like one of my biggest challenges is like saying no and like setting boundaries in life. But there's been a couple of times where things have like, with people where relationships have escalated to such a toxic point where I've just had to be like, done, disappear.
Yeah.
Cut you out forever, never see you or speak or think about you ever again. And it's like a very dramatic, I think, reaction to the people who are like, oh, but you're so like gentle and maybe a little bit of a pushover. But I definitely there's been a point where I've had to like, yeah, maybe I've created enemies in that way, but I've been like, goodbye forever.
No, I think, well, I have, that's fixed sign energy to me. That's all your Scorpio. I have a stellium in Leo, which is all fixed signs. And I do the same thing. I'm like, nope, we're done. I'm never talking to you again. You don't exist. Yeah. But we just wanted to cosmically confirm that like, if you have had those experiences, like you are absolutely deserving of holding those boundaries and defending yourself, because there is that need that showed up in your chart.
Yeah. Speaking of like Sagittarius woman that like saved me, it was like my senior year of high school. I was in this kind of toxic relationship and friend group. And it got to a point where I was like, I can't do it anymore. And I broke things off and I lost my entire support system. Like all of my friends in my relationship, I didn't have anybody. And it was this like Sagittarius woman who was also in art school with me that was kind of just like picked me up and was like, I'm going to take care of you and like help you get your fire and energy back. And we're like best friends now, talk every single day. But yeah.
I had chills. That's your chart coming to life, because having so many planets in the 11th house of friends is great. It means community is so important to you. But having it come through in the sign of Scorpio indicates loss, resilience, transformation, upheaval, all of the things. So to really go from feeling supported and abundant and then to nothing, that is an absolutely Scorpionic experience. Laura, I think you should talk to him about his Venus in Scorpio because you have such a beautiful way of describing Venus in Scorpio.
Venus in Scorpio? Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I want to say that I also have Jupiter in Scorpio. So we're exactly 12 years apart. And what you just said about your Sagittarius friend, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of protection, and your Jupiter's conjunct your North Node, and the North Node is a point of increasing. It's like the head of the dragon. So the fact that you had a Sagittarius woman protecting you, that was like fated. Venus in Scorpio to me is like attraction. It's like, have you ever seen that movie?
Mm-mm.
It's like, you have to watch this movie.
Okay.
It's exactly like Venus in Scorpio. And the more that your star rises, the brighter your light, but the deeper your shadow. So you're going to bring out the shadow aspects of other people, and they're going to start getting jealous and may want to like be like you, copy you. It's literally like Glenn Close and Fatal Attraction. So again, you have Jupiter there, which is protective, but you also have Pluto there. Pluto in Scorpio is like, you need to transmute these people, not take revenge on them, but just allow their shadow parts to reveal themselves and let them go.
Wow.
It's very deep. There's depth with Scorpio. I mean, in modern astrology, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, the planet, the lord of the underworld, death, rebirth, transformation. And so some of the shadow sides of like Venus and Scorpio, maybe earlier on in your life and relationships, sometimes obsession, jealousy, triangulation, getting in like relationships where you're having to deal with power dynamics too. That can be a big thing with Venus and Scorpio. But ultimately there's this need to learn to trust. Once you trust someone, it is like we are diving into the depths of hell together and rising up, and alchemizing and transforming. So it's a very powerful placement. I think it gets a bad rap, but it's very poetic. I think the fact that you're living your chart, you're living and breathing your chart. Do we have anything else to talk about before we pull cards? Is there anything else you want to say about your chart or?
I don't think so, but thank you so much. That was so not just insightful, but like validating. Because there's even the things that you said were like coming in the near future. They've been like on my mind, and I've been like everything from like the privacy and focusing more on that. And yeah, it all just really resonated with me. So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you so much for being here. So we will each pull a card for you. But before we do that, tell everyone watching, where can they find you? What's exciting? What's coming up? What does everyone need to know about you?
So my very first book, Gentle Chaos, Poems, Tales, and Magic, is coming out October 3rd on my birthday, but you can pre-order it now wherever you buy books. And it's very much like my baby and child that I'd been working on for 2 years, kind of in secrecy. And so I'm so excited for the world to experience it. I'm also terrified. I have like stress dreams about it every single night where I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know like writing a book meant people were going to read it. And like that's kind of horrifying in a fun way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm everywhere on the internet that you can possibly be, as Ghost Honey or Tyler Gaca.
Oh,
love it. Okay. I pulled a card. Stress dreams be gone. It is the sun. So I don't know how familiar you are with tarot, but this is obviously I'm biased as a Leo, but this is like one of the best cards in the deck. This is a signifier of success, joy, abundance. Like, look at this little baby is like arms open. Here we go.
It's me.
Yeah. I mean, the signifiers in your chart really, really, speak to this, but this is going to be a really exciting, positive year. And I feel like everything you pour your heart and soul into is going to be received with those arms like wide open.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's amazing to hear.
It's so interesting how we pull such similar cards because I got the Six of Cups. And immediately when I got this card, I heard inner child. And Jupiter is going to move into your fifth house in May. And that's a very, very lucky signature to have Jupiter in the fifth, because the fifth house is the house of joy and fun and creativity. So just think back, like, this is the card of nostalgia. Like, think back to your little child. What did Tyler love to do? What were Tyler's dreams? And I feel like you're already doing that. You're already embodying like such joy and creativity, but feed your inner child and make him feel safe and seen. And ultimately, I love this card because it's a six, and six is the number of reunion, and it's Venusian, and it's just like really lovely to think about, like also playing and connecting with people that you love.
Mhm. Wow, that's amazing. The very first part of my book is called Tiny Dancer, and like the book kicks off with like a photo of me from my ballet days performing on stage in like sequined overalls, and it's all just about like how I've always been a performer and like wanted to perform for people. And recently I had an aunt tell me like, do you remember the shows you used to put on in the living room? And I was like, no, I have no recollection of that whatsoever. But she was like, you would make everybody gather, and then you would stand like just slightly out of view and like gather yourself like, and then walk into the living room and put on an improvised show for people. I was like, oh, I've really come full circle in a way.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's beautiful, and that's so reflective in both of those polls. So we're so excited for your 2023. Please keep us posted, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Oh, thank you so much. I definitely will. I was taking frantic like notes through all of that. I'll definitely be like going back and listening again. But just yeah, I feel so like excited now.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you so
here.
much.
Is there anything personally you would like to know, or any questions you have?
The biggest things I can think of are like love and career. Those may be where I'm the most curious, but I'm totally open to receiving any message that you think I may need to hear.
Okay. It's interesting because when I looked at your chart, I think I might have mentioned this. Is Tyler going to get married or engaged or something? Did you get married in like 2017, or was that like a big milestone in your relationship?
Yes, I met my husband in 2017.
Oh,
Um, and then we got married in January 2019.
oh, how lovely. Yes. And what is your husband's, you can just say sun sign if you know.
It's really interesting actually. So he's an Aquarius. So we're both air signs, but then our moon and rising are exactly the same. Like we mirror each other. So his moon is also Virgo and his rising is also Capricorn.
That is so cute. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm just going to take a moment to tune into your energy. If you want to also close your eyes, we can take a breath together. Okay. You can slowly flutter your eyes open. And I'm just going to ask my spirit guides, your spirit guides, to share with us what is your current energy, just so we get an energy check here. And if you have any questions along the way, you can ask me. But yeah, when I was first reading your chart, your ancestors are very present with you. And do you mind sharing where your ancestors are from?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mystery. Um, on my dad's side, he's Polish, so I know I'm half Polish. But on my mom's side, her father was a like fire station baby from a love affair.
Oh,
And so I've never met him. He's still alive, but he was raised by his grandma, thinking his grandma was his mom and his mom was his sister. There's like some mystery as to like who his father was and what our lineage could be. But it's interesting when it comes to things like ancestors speaking to me and magical practices. I do feel like it's coming from my mother's side.
that's Wow. That is also like all your Scorpio placements and the North Node in Scorpio, because obviously Scorpio is secrets. I always, whenever I have clients that don't know their ancestry, you can still connect to them if you don't know, because they can send you signs and synchronicities of like what they were interested in and what plants they worked with just by you being interested in them.
Okay.
Because I noticed that you are interested in bones and like teeth and stuff. So they might have, what's it called? Necromancy? When you like talk to bones. So your dominant energy right now is freedom. And it says the energy of freedom supports our sense of limitless possibility and potential, boundless expression, and bold exploration. So this is your current energy. And then I asked, what does the universe need from you? And the mystic. This is also 21, which is like 21 in the tarot is the last card. It's the world card. It's about completion. So I feel like you're in alignment with wherever, and look, they both have wings.
Yeah.
The wings connotate freedom for me, and like you being this messenger of some kind of wisdom, of some kind of, you might not necessarily want to always share. You want to write more and you want to be more in your words, but your Libra sun in your 10th house is like,
Sorry.
oh, it's okay.
Honey, please.
I feel like that's a confirmation.
She's like, yes. Say it.
That was it. That's the message you needed to hear. That your 10th house sun is like, we need to share this wisdom. We need to go out there and shine brightly. And the mystic, though, is really getting into some like esoteric business. And also your Saturn return in Pisces is like getting more into spirituality. Do you have a spiritual practice?
I do, but it's not as strong as it used to be. I had this period in my early 20s when it was like my main focus in my life was like my spirituality and my practice. I feel like I'm just now in my life getting back to a place where I'm ready to like fully dive back into it again. And
yeah. The third house is rituals. It's actually the house of the goddess. So having Saturn there, and Saturn is the planet of discipline. So I think thinks that during your Saturn return, you're going to want to have a daily practice of some kind. And your power animal is the whale, which I think is so in alignment with all of the things that you've been telling us. The whale goes deep into the ocean. The whale is wise. It's also a water sign. The whale asks us to really plunge deep into our inner realm and our emotions. And it doesn't seem like you have that much of a difficulty with that, but I'm assuming just by how much I know of you.
Yeah, I've kind of like turned it into my career, like being vulnerable and
yeah. I love it. Do you find that you're like overexposed sometimes? Do you feel like
Oh, absolutely. That they're especially recently too, which is why I think what you said earlier in the reading was so like reaffirming to me. It's hard to even put into words. I no longer feel the need, I guess, to put myself out there and share as much as I used to. It was almost like this really dramatic shift where suddenly it was like I woke up one day and I was like, I think I'm kind of done.
Yeah.
Like I'm ready to just focus inwards and focus on my art and my work and like the big things that I want to accomplish. Yeah, it was like a really sudden and kind of dramatic, like, oh, I no longer feel comfortable, but I also just don't feel the need to like put myself out there as much as I have been.
You're going to want to spend more time inward and with your family and with your partner, and with, again, like Jupiter transiting your 5th house in Taurus, which is going to happen in May, is like a signature of children. So, or like creating, but like a pregnancy energy of like, I want to birth things versus like, I want to be so out there. And it's interesting because your goddess is Artemis, which is focus. And so I think that your focus is going to be more internal. And I was going to read you this whale book. I mean, this whale, what it says, because it's so beautiful, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Okay. So it says, desire to delve deeper, profound peace, ancient wisdom. The whale represents profound emotional health and stability. Whale personalities are not afraid of emotional expression or traversing difficult terrain, as they have overcome many challenges in their lives. These experiences have enriched them, given them stability, strength, and a depth that is rare. Whale energy is usually linked to the feminine forces of compassion and communication. When we can depend on whale personalities when all else seems lost and trust them to be a beacon in our darkest hour. So, when in balance, calm, steady, deeply compassionate. When out of balance, heavy, slips into old story. And to bring into balance is regular self care,
Wow.
which I hope you're doing.
I'm trying. It's hard. It's something I really struggle with. Yeah. I usually like I feel very guilty when I try to like take time for myself and for self-care.
Because Virgo is the sign of the healer and of the divine feminine and of health. So you have a Virgo moon and you want to make sure that you're taking the time to ground. Do you plan to move?
I don't have any immediate it's kind of complicated because I'm like no, but then also like I am looking at houses. So it's kind of like
I feel like
I
it's gonna happen.
yeah, interesting. I'm looking, and then if it's like we've agreed like oh if the perfect place comes along then we'll move, but if not we're fine for now. So
I feel like you are, just because one of the signatures of Saturn in the third house is a change of neighborhood. Might move to a different neighborhood, but again, this might be even like a year or two down the line, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, we found the right place, and it's happening. So you just have to update me, because this is more of a predictive thing.
I'm definitely open to it.
Yeah, and I feel like when you change environments, it also is conducive to your creativity. Okay, so I asked for advice and what you can do, and I really like them. So, I don't want to take up too much of your time. You're a busy man. Number 1 is sex.
Slay.
Yes. Number 2 is take a walk, which is what I was saying, like ground your energy. Number 3 is meditate. I don't know if you have a meditation practice, but I know we're very busy, but it could be very good to help you ground. And then look for fairies.
Oh, I love that.
Then you are very close to achieving your goal, gibbous moon. So whatever you were manifesting, it's very close. Wow. And waxing moon, the energy is gaining momentum. So whatever you couldn't tell us or whatever you're working on, it's going to work out. It's gaining momentum. It's growing, which is good. And maybe, like surrender is the biggest thing with Saturn in Pisces, because ultimately you can only do what you can do. And my sister is a Capricorn rising, so I know that that's very difficult for y'all. But surrendering to the bigger plan and surrendering to what's best for you, if you believe in a god or goddess, and not everything has to be done by you. Like you can also release it to your spirit guides or Earth Mother, whatever it is. Like it's all going to get done, so don't worry.
Okay. That's great to hear. Thank you so much. That was really beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. I really needed to hear, I think, all of that.
Yeah, I think you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and it's all going to be okay. And you're so young too. You're only 28.
Yeah, I feel ancient.
You are ancient. I feel like you are an ancient soul, and you're like, oh, this thing again. We're doing this.
I know.
Parts again in this body.
That's really how I feel sometimes, where I'm like, oh my god. And I'm like, wait, I'm actually really young. I have to remind myself.
So when Jupiter goes into your 5th house, again, I keep saying this because this is like such a lucky aspect. Do Taurus things, do Venusian things, like eat delicious food, go frolic, go have sexy time, touch your body, touch the earth, like have sex in the woods, like do fun shit.
Hell yeah. Oh, I will.
Yes, please. And I cannot wait to read your book, and your content honestly makes me so happy as well. And I wish you all the
Thank you so
luck. And
much.
when your TV show comes out, I want to see it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you doing this and taking the time. And this was amazing.
And yeah, you ready to get started?
I'm ready.
Okay, cool. Okay. So right away I feel like the energy of someone younger, someone who passed too soon. And it would feel almost like a friend, or would you have someone who's crossed over that passed either in high school or earlier on in their life?
Mhm. I mean, I definitely know of some people that have passed earlier, but not like any immediate strong connection, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so this person in particular is showing me very specific, but like Spider-Man or like Marvel comics or superheroes, so like some connection to either, and it feels tangible, like flipping through the actual comics, but feeling like there would be a connection to drama or plays or theater or being on stage in some way.
Mm, Interesting. It's definitely possible because I went to art school, so there were a lot of comic book people and fans and enthusiasts.
Okay, they're also showing me them riding a bicycle. So I don't know if that was maybe one of their main hobbies, something they did, or if I can ask this spirit if they have a message for you, and then I can move on and see if someone else comes through who you might have a more resonant connection with, or I can
Sure.
continue to pursue it, whatever you would like.
That sounds good. Yeah, I would love to hear if there's a message.
Okay. Okay, the next spirit that's stepping forward feels like almost like uncle energy, or godparent, or close family friend, even like paternal energy, I would say.
Hmm.
Someone who's maybe passed in their 60s or 70s. Do you have someone who fits that description who's passed?
I do have a an uncle figure that I believe was in his 60s.
Um, was that person a creative in any way, an artist or a painter, or some type of, yeah, did they have some type of creative outlet?
I don't believe so. Not the person that I'm thinking of, at least. Or if they did, to be honest, I didn't know them very well in life.
Also asked, just can you describe some of your energy, or what were you like when you were here on Earth, to get a
Mhm.
better picture of their personality? And he showed me the Fool, which I think of as like um, a joker, a risk taker, someone with a big personality. Yes, just more that kind of risk taking, adventurous type of person.
Yeah, I would have to go back and double check, but the only male figure that I can think of would be um like my mom's cousin, who I considered like an uncle. He was kind of estranged growing up, but he passed fairly recently, like last year, I believe.
Was his personality, was that resonant to his personality? Was he
Y- Yeah, he was always kind of getting in trouble.
okay?
Uh,
That's very much the Fool, right?
yeah, very much like um everyone was kind of always very concerned about him
Uh-huh.
um doing things he probably shouldn't have.
Okay, let me read into that a little bit more. Did he do magic tricks,
um
or like things with coins, or like the simple kind of magic tricks?
Interesting too is that everything you've said also like has reminded me of me,
Mm.
both of the spirits,
Oh,
the riding the bike and The like being on stage and the creative and magic tricks. Like when I was very, very little, I was very into performing magic tricks, like simple magic tricks for
Oh,
family and friends.
no way. Okay. So sometimes what spirit brings through are like acknowledgments of their presence in your life, if that makes
Mm.
sense. So what I'm the symbols that are coming through may not be directly related to who they were, but it could be an acknowledgement of like, we are around you, um,
Oh,
just
I see.
been, with you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Even
I had a magician phase where I wouldn't leave the house without a cape and top hat and like a trick wand.
oh my god, obsessed. No Scorpio stellium.
Yeah. I'd go up to strangers like, "Do you want to see a magic trick?" And I'd show them like my little trick wand.
Let me see if he has a message, and um if not, we can see if someone else comes through if you are ready.
Okay.
Okay, a couple things. Um, so they showed me the Three of Wands, which is, for me, this card of expansion and looking out on the horizon, but also actual trips. And I kept hearing the month May. Um, do you have any trips coming up in May, or do you have any big trips planned on the horizon? Yeah, I feel like May is just going to be a big month for you in general.
Mm. Yeah, I have been considering going back to Japan, and I was thinking a trip this spring.
Okay.
So that's something I've been like kind of going back and forth on and debating for a while.
Okay. Well, I feel like maybe you'll be traveling in May. And this is also separate. Did you have like lizards growing up, or iguana, or I don't know, some kind of reptile?
It just write like a piece of poetry about lizards, which is interesting.
Okay. So even before we met, I was having like just some stuff come through, and usually it's like random words. Like one of them
Mhm.
was Spider-Man, one of them was lizard. So yeah, that came through. So maybe that's just an acknowledgement, or just picking up on your poem. I don't know. Okay, so I feel two spirits stepping forward at the same time, and a maternal grandmother figure.
Mm.
Do you have a grandma who is crossed over on your mom's side?
I do. My mom's grandmother, my great grandmother.
Oh, okay, okay.
Lots of strong female energy on my mom's side as well, in terms of
Mm,
like many great aunts and
okay. So that would make sense that I'm feeling, these two spirits together.
Mhm.
Did your great grandmother have like a good sense of humor?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
My mom said that she was hilarious.
okay, okay. I heard I was very funny for my time, like just.
Yes.
And she's also showing me like um a picnic spread. I don't
Hmm.
um so I don't know if you have any memories of like going to she's showing me in a park on a with those tablecloths, or if there were family events hosted at a park.
Yeah, they were very, she was very outdoorsy as well, but just, yeah, picnics outside and um, was very much her cup of tea.
Do you have a necklace that belonged to her?
Um, my mother does. She had a few of her necklaces. I have her husband's bolo tie.
Oh, okay, okay. So she was showing me some type of necklace.
She was known for her necklaces. I remember there was one that was like chili peppers. It was like
Yeah.
giant beads and chili peppers. And my mom saved a lot of them.
Do you have an altar space in your home?
I do.
Do you have anything of hers on the altar?
I
Or do you charge the bolo tie there or anything?
You know what's interesting is I just cleaned and reorganized the space yesterday,
Uh,
and I have a ceramic eagle that belonged to her husband, my great grandfather, that I placed on top of the altar.
oh,
Um,
okay, okay.
but that was something that he had gifted to me when I was like a baby that I've had my whole life.
Okay. She's bringing me to the altar and just naming and acknowledging that there's something, some tie, yeah, to her and her husband would that would make sense. And I heard tell him to put one of my necklaces on the altar.
Okay. Will do. I would love one of her necklaces. Yeah, it's interesting in terms of like energy that I've kind of felt watching over me. I've always assumed that it was her, my great grandmother, and also there's just been like a ton of aunts on my mother's side, her great aunts that I never even met growing up, but I've always kind of felt close to
Mm. hmm
spiritually.
Let me first see if she has some messages, what she'd like to say. Okay, a couple of things. So, she showed me the Ace of Cups, which again, one of the most, I think, beautiful cards in the deck, a card of creativity, just a new cycle, a beginning, love, a soul connection. And I do also feel like she's mentioning your husband, and I'm curious, is there some type of either new beginning that's starting in his life or in both of your lives, whether you're like trying to decide, feel like there's some big decisions that might be coming up in your relationship. And I'm also wondering um, whether he's starting something exciting in his career, and also if at the same time has he been sorting through, has there been tension or something going on with his family?
Yeah, yes to all of that.
Okay.
He left his job in December to start a new career for himself, kind of his own business.
Okay.
Um, which is very exciting. Like deaths in his family as well recently. He's gonna be traveling soon for like tomb sweeping day. Um,
Okay.
to go back home for it, to kind of be with family for that. So yeah, yes to all of that.
Okay. I'm going to thank her for coming through.
That's also great to hear. I'm definitely gonna bother my mom for one of her necklaces
Yeah, get one of
because I've had my great grandfather's stuff for a while, but yeah, I would love one of her pieces to honor as well.
awesome. Thank you so much for
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Yeah, thank you for letting me experience that.
of course.
Oh my gosh, I appreciate both of you so much. Yeah, this has been so just like amazing and enlightening and yeah, just like everything that's come out of it, I feel like I really needed to hear. So I'm so grateful that you two both reached out and took the time to meet with me.
Of course, of course. Take care. It's going to be a really, really exciting year. So keep us
Oh, thank
posted
you.
because
You
we
too.
love to hear when our predictions come true.
Oh, I will.